Welcome back to Gears of War.
Gears of War. Ha 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 ha.
Wake up. This is the ghost of Dominic Santiago telling you to wake the fuck up.
Pretty much.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. So far, this game is the game's. I don't think anything in the game's been flat out bad. It's just been really unremarkable.
Yeah.
Still, wake up.
Yeah.
And you've had your complaints too.
Yeah. Basically, you know how a lot of people, including even the creator of Gears, calls this the Force Awakens of the Gear series. Dibs has a bit of an issue with that because he says that he found Force Awakens much more entertaining than this.
I can kind of agree with that. I mean, don't get me... Okay, look. That said, though, don't get me wrong. Force Awakens did have problems, too. Admittedly, problems that we now see more clearly now that the whole trilogy is out. But I will agree that at least Force Awakens, when it came out, was more entertaining than this, which is, at best, boring. I mean, it's not the worst... Okay, it is far from the worst thing we have ever played on this channel. But it is pretty... It's wonky, okay? The gameplay is fine, but it gets padded out a lot. The dialogue is... Ooh.
Well, at least it took a few of them with him. Shit. More than a few.
Complete with a jump scare cord and everything.
More like ominous, anything. It's lovely. It's lovely how the game keeps throwing all these weapons, you know, but... You know, Pedro is just okay with the standard Lancer
do we have
and the
any
sniper
bombs
rifle.
that we can use to blow the door open?
Well, these have always been my favorite weapons in the series too. I used them also in the original trilogy as much as I could.
Gee, maybe if the game allowed you to use more than 2 weapons, you will be able to, you know, potentially choose them in other situations.
Okay. To be fair...
You'd hate GoldenEye Rogue Agent.
Well, don't tell them...
Duke Nukem Forever.
Well, the different weapons are... all the multitude of different weapons are more so for multiplayer purposes rather than, you know, like... Because in terms of single player, you can get through this game with any weapon you choose.
Well,
the weapons are mostly just there for multiplayer purposes.
I guess, but you know, I can imagine someone who likes, like for example, shotguns, but can't keep it because the standard, for example, the standard Lancer and the sniper rifle is just more effective. Potentially, I don't know.
Not really, too. Like the shotgun is also effective in its own way. It boils down to whatever you prefer, really.
Okay. Admittedly, Tio, that's how a lot of these, you know, third-person co-op shooters work. Like, normally, by default, you can only carry 2 weapons that you swap between. I will give Gears of War 4 this. You can actually work around that, though. As you recall, there's a swap mechanic where you can swap weapons with your AI partners here and there. So technically, if you want, you can get a multitude of weapons, just swap around the weapons here and there and choose what you want to go with each AI partner here and there. So, yeah, technically you can carry around more than 2 weapons, and like I said,
well, yeah,
it's
only in Judgment that you can only carry 2 weapons, really. Because in here you can carry 4 thanks to the user thing, because they brought back the use of the D-pad from the original trilogy, fortunately.
Oh, shit.
I will give it this, because unlike Judgment, they went back to the classic control scheme, thank God. Ugh. But yeah, to continue what Jova was saying, no, exactly, and to also, because we also voiced this concern. No one here is trying to argue that this game is horrible or terrible or anything. No, this game is perfectly serviceable as a cover-based shooter. It's just not a very good Gears game. That's the basic point that me and Jova are trying to put forward. You know,
Let me put it like this. This is the kind of installment in entertainment media where if it had a good sequel to work off of things, we could have forgiven this for being an obvious launch pad and nothing else for the new era of the series. Unfortunately, the sequel was Gears 5, so... yeah, not the best feelings. Whereas with Force Awakens, I can at least see, like, on its own, that movie is fine and good enough. Whereas this, I mean, it's not bad, but it definitely feels like something that was made literally just to be a first part of in this or that, and doesn't feel like it stands on its own well enough. Oh, don't get me wrong, it tells technically a coherent enough story, but the story is such an obvious, oh, wait till things actually get active.
Not even just that, I can put it in even better terms. This is a Mario game story. Someone gets kidnapped and we have to save that person from the evil creature that kidnapped it. This is literally a Super Mario Brothers story.
You raise that, Pedro? Well, I'll raise you this. Death Stranding did it better.
Well, yeah, that's because Death Stranding was satirizing that story. But,
Not just that.
Okay.
It's also
It's not just a matter of
It's also a
satirizing
story. It's also a story where the build was built on its own, not a sequel to something else.
I think that is the thing, though. Sometimes the most simplest of plot structures can be the easiest to screw up, ironically enough.
Oh,
And
that's also
guess-
another thing that I thought I was about to say in the previous part. I don't remember. But the thing is that, again, yes, it's technically a new beginning and everything, time skip and all. But this is still a sequel, a numbered sequel. It has a
Yeah.
legacy, to stand upon. And it does a sloppy job for that.
Let me put it this. For example, Jurassic World, even though you could technically start the Jurassic Park series with that one, still was a sequel that did pay mind to its predecessors.
Oh, cool.
So it
about
actually
that.
feels like something that I could very well say, yes, the mechs are back. So Jurassic World was something that I feel I could say is definitely, yep, this is actually for the franchise. Like, heck, they even bring back Rexy. Whereas this game, okay, yes, they claim that it's not the Locust, but come on, like I said, anyone with eyes could tell that those are Locusts. Hell, mind you, we actually do fight Locusts in the prologue of this game, so you have the actual Locust to compare with to the Swarm here and there. So, yeah, but I digress. Yes, technically
What
the
are you
Locusts
doing?
are back.
I'm showing
Locusts
off how
are
it's
back.
weird that thing looks like a piece of the machine that's just sitting there for no apparent reason.
Well, I guess it got detached from the original mech, and now it's conveniently usable.
Oh, I get that, Theo, but from a level design perspective, what exactly compelled the designers to even put that object there? Like it's I just felt it was a bit weird. Not that it's a problem, mind you. It's just that
Well, it's not a combat mech per se, but instead, a mining equipment. I can imagine that a potential story behind is that there was a model there was like an accident. The head part, the forward part, actually detached and just happened to be there. And before they actually could clean it up or reattach it to its original, bullshit that hit the fan here.
I guess,
Yeah.
but as far as world building is concerned, that's very lackluster. But
And regardless, though, back to my point, though, it's like, well, yeah, technically we do have aspects here. Although the problem is that the game spends so much time insisting that, oh no, it's totally not the Locust, and I'm like, why?
and like I said in the previous
why-
part, this very part is going to contradict that anyway. So
Here's my question. Why bother denying that they're the Locusts? Like, if anything, you obviously brought back the Locusts for a callback to the original series. So,
we're
why
not.
would you claim that they're not the Locusts? There's nothing clever about it. It's not even really subversive because, again, it's pretty obvious that they are Locusts. So,
It almost
I mean,
becomes
It's like-
self-parody.
it's like they want-
Sorry, go on.
It's like they want to, bring back the Locust, but at the same time they're trying to, try to fool people into not thinking
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Adam's sacrifice was in
Based on,
vain. But
based
sorry, guys, I'm not stupid. I can see exactly what you're doing here. You're basically rendering the ending of Gears 3 useless, so you can continue your freaking story. But go ahead, Dubs.
based from what I'm seeing from this game and the previous one, guessing Tom Bissell's better at writing books, having read the Disaster Art.
But no, it almost becomes self-parody, because at this point the only thing that's missing is a locust that has like a paper bag on its head or like on a shirt that has written on it "totally not a locust." Might as
I
well
know,
have it.
I kind of
okay, maybe if like they were parenting themselves, I could get it. But yeah, and that's the thing. It feels like it's trying to distance
it's
itself
exactly-
from the original trilogy, except not really. So I'm wondering, what kind of identity is this game trying to make for itself? I'll tell you right now, it doesn't feel like a Gears of War identity.
It's like, again, I want to address something I said a few parts ago. Yeah, the lines like those is exactly why I get the feeling that Tom Bissell is kind of trying to make JD kind of different, because with that line with the, okay, the good news is that I killed the Locust. The bad news is that I is that I wrecked the loader. Like I think, but the problem is that, like I've mentioned before, Tom Bissell doesn't really quite have the same kind of wit that Amy Hennig has. Like for something like akin to what Nate says when there's that doubt about Sully's allegiance, and he goes, "So what if he's working with them? We either rescue him or we beat the crap out of him." But you know what? I might just beat the crap out of him anyway. That's a far more where you're aligned with than what anything this game has, and that's the problem with this game. It's complete lack of wit on part of the writer, in terms of in terms of the one-liners. I mean,
like I won't act like the original Gears of War trilogy was all about it. It wasn't really. It was mainly about the cheesy one-liners that.
Yeah, Cole had plenty of cheesy one-liners. Yeah, Cole was basically the primary deliverer of the one-liners. Him and Baird, specifically.
Like, I can tell what this game is trying to go for. This game is trying to go for more of the wit as opposed to the cheese. And that's fine. The problem is that the wit feels so smart Alec-like without any of the charm whatsoever, to the point where it just feels like they're going, "Hello, fellow kids, how do you do?"
Yeah, like
that's totally how you talk, right?
Yeah, like Theo said, the Tom Bissell is trying to be James Gunn, but it doesn't have the same writing shots that James Gunn has.
You can swallow your teammates, Jesus.
Yep. Okay, interesting game mechanics, again, for the new enemies here and there, fine and fair. Again, I'll say this, the gameplay is definitely not the biggest problem of this.
Oh no, the gameplay, again, is perfectly serviceable. There's nothing inherently wrong with the gameplay. The gameplay is perfectly fine. It's just that, again, it's one of those cases where, okay, let me put it this way. Gears of War 4 may play like a Gears game, but it doesn't feel like a Gears game, if that makes any sense, because the atmosphere doesn't feel the same. The characters don't have the cool badass aspect. The music in particular doesn't hold a freaking candle to Steve Jablonski's work. Like and that's not a knock against Raymond Drouat, because I actually really enjoy his work. Like he's great at Person of Interest. He composed for that entire series, and his themes for Person of Interest are really good. I guess it's just one of those cases where he has little to work with in terms of inspiration, because
J.J. Abrams do the main theme for that show, though.
True, he did do the main theme, but Ryman did the rest, though.
Wow, I love how the game doesn't allow you experimentation check the positive until you find the correct one.
Oh, there you go.
Gears 2 when you have to find Dom's wife.
All right, everybody, now prepare. All right, everybody. So now it's time for. Oh yeah, and now we got to do the making us think that the character is cliche. Is that cliche before they're? Yeah, sorry, game. We're not buying it. You don't have the balls to do that.
Slap him. No, that's JD. No.
Live, goddammit, live!
Why all these movies and video games don't understand how CPR works?
You just punch them, Theo.
Of course.
Don't you see, guys? JD actually cares for his dad.
Not just that, you should have removed the armor if you wanted, whatever. Fuck this.
Oh god, guys, Marcus Phoenix is totally dead. We totally brought him back just to kill him.
I'm not buying it. Oh, so now you took it off?
Yeah.
Why wasn't that the first
So Marcus, what does
taste
taste better, this or the Giant Blood's Worst Blood?
Okay, John, for this voice direction, just throw up.
Vomit.
Yeah.
I love how his eyes were even open and everything, too. But no, he was fine.
Well, to be fair, Duez, what kind of direction do you even give an actor to? I fail to realize what else a director would say in those circumstances.
Just say comments.
Act like you've been really drunk.
Kate, do you have a soda to give him?
Alright,
wants to wash the taste.
Let's hear what Marcus has to say.
Why would she have a soda?
I don't know.
Network. What network?
Your own Wi-Fi network. What do you think?
Oh, snap.
This whole goddamn hive. It's all connected. All the people they've potted. I could feel them.
Like the Matrix?
The locust never died, James.
Ton, 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 ton.
So they are indeed the locusts. Thanks,
I
game,
can
for.
feel that presence. in the
And
room.
also JD was like, yeah, if we figure
Wait,
them out.
wait. No.
How Matrix 4 turns out.
Hold on. JD, literally the last line you had to say was, "Oh, I guess it's not the locust."
No, to be
Where
fair,
was
Joe,
the-
they did mention that, afterward in another conversation, that they started having doubt about that.
Hold on.
Yeah. But it's not like they gave any line saying, "Oh, it's
Oh.
technically the locust." At
So
best, they
they're
said that
dead?
they had doubts.
Yeah, they didn't make it. Yeah.
Damn.
So you know the
Sorry,
whole community of folk that JD were working
again.
for? Yeah,
Alright,
they're dead.
alright, Kate, let me give you your AirPod, and I listed to a playlist of 40 copies of Crawling from Linkin Park. You're welcome.
Alexa, play sad music.
Yeah, this is so depressing. Alexa, play Despacito.
You're not gonna like
Well, I
But,
mean, I've got Siri with me, so I could ask it to play a song.
Please, no, Dweebs.
Alright, Act
Get
4,
out.
Chapter
Yes,
1, get out.
of
Get
this
out.
game.
So
Wow.
guys, so
Oh,
guys,
alright, oh, there you go. See, Taylor's even saying get out of this game. Yeah, Taylor
No,
officially
I'm just taking
disapproves.
advantage to make a joke.
So,
Okay.
guys, just to do a bit of a recap, you know that community of people we were working for at the start of the game? We never learned what exactly they were. Okay, the main thing we know is that they were the resistance against the current COG under Jim's leadership, but other than that, never got to know them. They're pretty
No.
much dead, so...
Except for Reyna. Reyna's still alive,
How-
but aside from them, yes.
Even the uncle is dead. Damn.
I'll get back to you on that at the end of the game too.
I'll just say
Okay.
this. How sloppy can you get, though? You literally introduced a new organization, but don't show us what it is about the new organization we're supposed to care about.
Yeah, that's exactly the problem. Yeah. So let's recap. The locusts are not the swarm, but at the same time, the swarm are the locusts. Okay, gotcha, game. Good job.
It's recap time. Hey Marcus, what locust have you met today?
Like it's just, it like seriously.
Yeah, that identical locust.
Make up your goddamn mind, game. Are they the actual locusts or not? Like seriously.
Don't you just love this back and forth, guys? The
Just
locusts,
met
no,
with
they're
a
not locusts. The
just met
locusts,
with
no,
a
they're not
shrug
locusts.
most of the time.
If the game itself is not sure of what is going on, what chance do we?
Again, what's even the point of being ambiguous? They look and act like locusts. Marcus pretty much said the locusts never die, and again, like Pedro said, by Gears 5, it turns out they pretty much decided they are locusts.
Yeah, like, but by Gears 5, we'll even learn that yes, these are in the what started this whole resurgence was indeed the fact that not all the locusts died at the end of 3, which again,
But,
that's
well,
not.
They failed to count how many were left. Or something.
Okay,
But that
now,
still begs the question of something that, considering all...
These locust shells. Oh, yeah.
to be fair,
Hold on. Yeah, also, a question that probably you two already know the answer, because you know the foreshadowing that you pulled up there, which is the one that's more perplexing to me at the moment. Sure, the locusts are back and anything, but it was pretty much clear in the entire trilogy, convenient, that they needed the Queen to actually function as even as an active force, even on an instinctual level. So either the Queen is back or they're managing to work autonomously, I guess.
Teo, take a wild guess. Feel free to take a wild guess if you want. However,
Well, combining with the previous week, what they said in the previous part, I'm gonna say that Kate is gonna become the new Queen.
well, anyway,
I'll see at the end.
basically, you know, I'm trying my best to move on from that.
if I may,
Jova, help me.
yeah, okay, I want to go back again. They literally introduced a new community only to kill said community off. Like, that is just sloppy. Not even Gears 1 stooped to doing that. Like, you know, it's not like they introduced an entire pool of Marcuses just to kill off that platoon. Jesus Christ, like...
You
I
know,
mean,
they only killed Kim, which was his sergeant anyway, and even then they expanded his role greatly, not just in side material, but also in other section of the other sequel games, But
Yeah,
there's that
like-
at the very least.
Whereas this is just terrible. Reyna's community didn't mean jack
An
squat, except
entire village dropped in a fridge. Fantastic.
like, okay. You know what's bad? Hell, Nibelheim! The citizens of Nibelheim got more respect than this. And their purpose is pretty much just to die at Sephiroth's hand
even
in
Cloud's
a blaze
mother.
of glory.
Cloud's mother has something like, what, 10 lines of dialogue in total, you know? And yet she still feels like she had more character than these people.
Well,
like, this is just disgusting.
It's the lackluster way they handle it. The lackluster way they handled the Carmine death. Because, like I said, like the reason I didn't even, like I've said before, the reason I didn't even make a connection the first 2 times is because every time they mention Carmine, the actual Carmine himself is not even on screen. So I never even made the connection. Again, couldn't they just do things a bit with a bit more build-up, like the original trilogy did? Like they do it in such a they do it in such a haphazard. Let's get this running out of the way. That it just completely comes across as lackluster. Like, seriously.
Let me put things into perspective. The actual death or life of the Carmine family was something that players like us grew to actually care and have tension about. Because the Carmines, despite being faceless folk, were, in their own ways, beloved characters, you know? Up-and-coming rookies, you know? People who just wanted to do the right thing. Like, you know, now, if ever there's a way to do the faceless move, but with a sense of honor, right? Carmine was it. And it was because of that that we cheered with joy when Carmine actually lived in Gears 3 to the end.
Exactly.
Like,
that was the big payoff.
Like, it says something that a guy whose face we've never even seen is someone we care more for than any of the background characters in this. Again, what I did. You could pretty much take out every chapter.
All right, allow me. Basically, if you get captured by a Snatcher, someone else has to shoot it, and so you'll fall from its snatch, I guess.
Okay. I guess if I can give this game some credit, some of the new monster designs are pretty nifty. It's not as good as 3,
it's limited. At least so far, it's very limited. Even in general, like we have the Snatcher, which is a cool one, and the minor, the smaller variety, you know. And I guess those hybrid, you know, locals that are like pale white. But otherwise, the other variety we've seen so far is the standard locals, the, you know, foot soldier. You know, there are no boomers, there are no other saboteurs, there are no brumax, there are no the other steeds, for example, the flying one.
Where are the tickers? Where are the strong
Sorry, Joe, I'm gonna need the tickers for those robot DBs.
I guess. Okay, let me put it like this. You could literally have cut out every chapter having to do with Reina's community. Just say, oh, Kate's village got attacked and her mother's missing. Boom! You pretty much don't need any of the chapters that took place in the village. That's how little they mattered.
This is also a case of a game wanting its cake and eating it too. I think a better idea would have been to scrap one of the factions and focus on the other completely. In a sense, potentially one potential thing we could have is have this entire game built around the DVs, giving a lot more enemy types, you know, variety, and making them an actual threat, more like T800 level, you know, scary, you know, and have the big reveal at the end where the locusts were back, and then, you know, build upon that. Instead, oh god, that grenade.
That's the
Instead,
thing,
the DBs are just your starting enemy, you know, that are only half developed, and from what I understood, they're not even for the multiplayer, they're just there. Sorry. And then the hybrid locust of the swarm take over, you know.
That's part of the problem, Tio. The game tries to pretend like it's a big twist when we finally, and I do mean finally, come to a coherent answer, but you'll notice the game is still going back and forth about, oh, it's Locust, or maybe it's not Locust, and it's like, guys, the plot twist was blown. Again, here's a way of how to do it. Do it kind of what, like, Resident Evil 3, the remake, did with Nemesis in slowly revealing his face and whatnot. Have these new Locusts or whatnot be cloaked or disguised or whatnot, and then slowly but surely, you know, maybe have Marcus get kidnapped way later into the plot, only near the end when we rescue him again, instead of having him be snatched up and us pretty much spending an entire act chasing after him.
And now I'm imagining it And now I'm imagining it, a locust with a trench coat and a fedora.
I mean, that would have actually been something interesting and unique
Hello,
to
fellow
see for
Cock
this franchise.
citizens.
But yeah, that's the thing again. At the end of the day, anything about, the old COG being corrupt, pretty much plot dropped, and by the next game, Marcus will be back in control of the main
which is
COG
also
anyway.
demonstration of exactly what I said in the previous trilogy. This kind of plot twist, this kind of human behavior that we was theorizing in the previous trilogy is completely nonsense. It doesn't fit this kind of world because it doesn't make sense. Your opponent is a race of monsters. There's literally no reason for you to ally with them or betray mankind for them unless you're fucking crazy.
I know, right? Like, there is pretty much absolutely no benefit in siding with the Locusts. You cannot trust them whatsoever.
If the Locust had introduced a mechanic of shapeshifters or some more intelligent than others that can mind control human, that opens up the possibility. That's for sure at that point. But no, the Locusts are a very simple, race in terms of how they behave. And how they actually wage war. So that possibility is discarded, so what remains is potentially a human that actually sides with them because they think humanity has to be destroyed. But like I said, you have to be crazy for that kind of behavior. And for something like this, it doesn't fit that much.
Yeah.
I could have potentially imagined if, the politician... the politician here was just for a case of the fact that now there is peace, there were the splitting factions that I already complained about, that it's kind of a shame. People died for humanity to be united and it didn't work, but, it was potentially inevitable. But for the Locust itself, not really.
Here's what you could have done. An interesting concept. Make it that, for some reason, there's a condition that allows the Locust to actually poison the mind of a human. I mean, hell, that would actually help explain Jin's behavior. Don't get me wrong, it's cliche, but in regards to this franchise, it could be an interesting new concept.
Actually, that's another... sorry.
I don't know, Joe. You're replacing one cliche for it.
That's also another thing.
Just because something's a cliche doesn't automatically make it bad per se.
That's another thing, Joe. A question: do we see, the politician Jean before the end of the game again?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so we'll save the question for later because it might actually lead to a spoiler.
Well, that's a faint tale. The only one time... Hold on, let me finish.
Sorry, go on.
We're going to see her one more time, just so we can continue the running gag and her showing up, trying to get answers, only for JD to once again cut her with the Lancer and...
It's not funny anymore.
What I thought was...
Was it ever funny?
Yes, actually, the train was funny.
I guess, yeah.
And there's also the fact that no one has used no one has used the obvious weak point that should be exploited.
Alright, feel free to say what you wanted then, since I've already...
Well, considering, again, the suspicion was the fact that in the previous appearance, she kept saying about the fact that they were taking her children. So at first I thought that what the bot that we have seen was not actually Jean, but somehow, a reincarnation of the Locust Queen, and the fabricator contained the genetic data of the Locust inside, and the characters didn't know. But, I guess I got a wrong lead.
Could you imagine that, Joe, if that's what they were going for? Jin is the daughter of the Locust Queen or something?
Not the real Jin, but, an impersonation taking that appearance. Kind of like one of the plot twists of Persona 5, which I will not spoil in detail.
Ah, okay, then. But even still, Jova, could you imagine if that was it would make her asshole-ish nature a bit more understandable, the fact that she's actually a Locust agent or something like that.
Not to mention the fact that when you get down to it, how does Jin not even know about the Locust at this point? Her forces have just conveniently never run into the Locust forces that were also chasing us around the same time. Seriously, she must have some pretty poor intelligence to have not figured out about this new origins and whatnot and blame it on Reyna's group.
Yep, basically.
Yeah, you're right. Honestly, it would actually make a lot more sense about how she's blatantly not noticing the neon sign of clues and whatnot.
Also,
Oh,
I have to
great,
agree
another
with Pedro what he said
Snatcher.
before about the music not really being that impressive. I know that it's trying a bit hard at this point, but it just doesn't click.
No, again, if
This is
you
like-
go back and if you want an example of how Gears music is supposed to sound like, go to YouTube and search Gears of War 2 Finale. It's basically the main theme of the series that Steve Jablonski composed for. Like, and it's that is how like the heroic war military sounding music with the trumpets and like this, on the other hand, it just comes across as generic action music to me.
Not just that, but generic melodramatic action music.
So yeah, another fight against the Snatcher, because you know these are always fun to fight.
As it is,
time we
he has
have
become very
Marcus.
spongy, so now that Marcus has been rescued, let's recycle him as much as we can.
Ready.
Again, I'm still convinced that when the developers made this game, they made the levels and they made the entire thing, and then by the time they got to the end of it, they figured out that the game was too short. So in order to make up for that, we have to pad out all the shooting sections as much as possible.
It really does feel like that. Again, the original Gears trilogy went for a more dense. It went for a more dense operation where it maybe didn't have the most content, but most of that content was filled to the brim with stuff that actually did affect the story. And when per se they didn't have story progression, they had a lot of character dialogue between the characters to help keep us, pumped and whatnot. Whereas this game, the character dialogue, and that's not even getting into how much the character dialogue sucks. The character dialogue feels a bit sparse, honestly, compared to the original Gears trilogy. And when it is spoken, it really isn't that good.
No.
And then there's the actual story bits. Again, we spent pretty much most of the third act just chasing after Marcus and barely being able to slow down to even so much as discuss the lore of the game. That is bad pacing because this is a 4-act structure. Unless you're gonna do something like what Ace Attorney Investigations did and have like your final act be deceptively bigger than you expect it to be, which this game doesn't do.
It's one of those cases where it's one of those. By the time we get to Gears 5, even it becomes pretty obvious that the coalition has absolutely no interest in what the OG Gears of War fans actually want from these games, because in Gears 5 they're gonna double down. What little horror this game has, there's gonna be pretty much it's gonna be toned down even further in Gears 5. There's also going to be even less darker shades of color. It's gonna be even brighter. Like it's it literally is a case of it feels a lot like the guys at the coalition don't really care about the original trilogy, and so they're just trying to turn Gears into something that they personally like better. Like because that's the only possible conclusion I can take, which is a bit baffling because Rod Ferguson is the producer of these goddamn games, so he should know better.
Didn't he quit?
I didn't notice one of these.
Well, he did quit, Joe, but
right. Of these games.
Of these games, 4 and 5 specifically. And Gears Tactics. He was also the producer of Gears Tactics.
Which was, from what I hear, a step up compared to.
Well, yeah. If only for the fact that we can actually finally play again as dude bros. To try to say something. Okay, so yeah, like I was saying, it boils down to the fact that, yeah, like Joe was implying, yeah, Gears Tactics is a perfectly fine spin-off, if anything, because at the very least it shows a bit more understanding. However, it's still not exactly on point because it still carries some of this. It still carries the same art direction that 5 had. It still carries a lack of wit on part of the writing. Not that the writing is bad. It is an improvement over Tom Bissell's scripts, but it's still not quite there. Like it doesn't quite have the awesome one-liner type writing that we saw in the original trilogy. It doesn't. The characters themselves are okay. It literally is one of those cases where here's the basic gist of it when it comes to the story of Gears Tactics. Well, how are the characters? They're okay. How's the story? It's okay. How's the setting? It's okay. That's basically the best thing I can say to describe that story.
And judging by the gameplay, if you liked XCOM, even the gameplay should be okay. So,
well, I was never really into XCOM, so I don't really have a like
I said, if my PC was powerful enough, I would have actually taken a shot at it.
Sure. Maybe somebody else out there could see.
We'll see.
Say if you're an XCOM fan, tell us what you think of the gameplay. From the gameplay, as far as strategy games go, it looks perfectly fine for what it is. It's just not the kind of thing I play Gears for. But as a spin-off, but as an interesting take on the formula, it's still an interesting way to go about it. The interesting thing is that if you check the credits, while Tom Bissell was not the lead writer for Gears Tactics, he is credited as additional writing material or something along those lines. So my guess is he was supposed to be kind of maybe the consultant of sorts, maybe.
Yeah.
Even
something
though
like saying, these pieces of lore had to fit here and there.
Even though personally he would be the last person I would have as a consultant on Gears 4.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe get Joshua Ortega maybe. But no, not Tom Bissell, sorry.
So how do we get up here?
Oh, very good too, Marcus. You and Marcus completely think alike.
James, we need a plan.
Okay, fuel tank exploded. Control room destroyed.
Hurry!
Wanna fly?
Huh? Interesting. Also impossible.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Wait, what? JD. I'm not sure if... Yeah, exactly. I am with you on this one. I'm not sure. It should be
I have 12.
something safe.
He has 12% of a plan.
Heroes don't need plans. Wow, we're actually going up relatively slower.
Alright, to give credit, this leads into the second set piece of the game.
Oh, it's actually playable.
Yeah, basically, while this thing is going up, we have to shoot any oncoming obstacles.
Oh, I guess.
Again, more of this stuff throughout the game, like Jova said, would have been appreciated to just stave off the monotony. Again, it's not even matter. You can because Gears 2 and 3 did a great job in changing up the environments and having set pieces to
For a second there, I thought you were gonna make a mistake and JD would accidentally get hit.
And yeah, and run down. Oh shit! It's flying locust. Hallelujah!
It's raining lots.
Look at that! We finally got a payoff for that counterweight gag where he saw that thing. Great,
What a story, man, JD.
Great job, Tom. Great job.
You got a cookie.
It's for the cookie of reincorporation.
Counterweight. Anyway, yeah. Like I said, Gears 2 and 3 did a great job in having mixing things up with various set pieces. This game, on the other hand, only has 2 set pieces, the one with the motorcycle and this one. And we should have had more. We should have definitely had more, because these are actually the highlights of the game. So, clearly, there should have been more. It's like they were tight on time, which I can understand, actually, because from what I've looked into, apparently Phil Spencer bought the IP in 2014, and this game came out in 2016. So apparently they only had 2 years to make this game. That actually would explain why the game is so short. and why they had to pad it out as much as they can. So that's the primary theory that I have. When I align the dates of what I know and what I've been told, basically this game only had 2 years of development, which for a AAA
frame rate.
Which for a AAA game of this generation is a bit too little. It should have been at the very least 3 years.
Hey, we stopped.
Don't jinx it.
Said we couldn't fly.
Wow. Alright, this is actually, to be fair, one of the better interactions, at least, that we're about to hear.
Poor Marcus.
Hey, Dad. You okay?
Are you sure you don't have that soda, Kate?
Before we hit the other hive, we should think about backup.
What? You mean Jin?
No.
A friend.
Yeah, so, yeah, let's get someone who's actually likable.
Calling him in means a slight detour.
A detour? What if we detoured on our way to you?
Kate, I told you, your mother's...
That's right, you'd probably be a puddle of goo right now. Or worse.
Oh, come on.
Well, some things haven't changed.
Ha 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 ha. Good job,
That was
Del.
very tasteful.
Good job, Del. Good job. You had such great tact when speaking in 10th
Also,
century.
I see that the years changes, but some things not, Marcus. Still getting emotionally manipulating, rescuing someone.
Alright, well.
You've been in her position. Did you wait for backup?
He's actually got you there, Marcus, to be fair. Yeah.
Was it a smart idea then, though?
Well, it wasn't Shiroi, but at the same time...
Well, there we go then.
Well, here's the thing, Shiroi, like he himself said, it's her mother. You know, like, basically what happened, Shiroi, is that at the beginning of Gears of War 3, despite not being the right course of action, Marcus is incredibly afraid that his father will die, and so he disobeys orders and goes his best. He still fails to save him, but he didn't want to risk losing his father, so he went against the direct orders from his superiors, and that's why at the beginning of the first game he's arrested, right, too. And that's what they're referencing, Shiroi. Basically, he was also much like Kate.
Well, I argue they're also slightly referencing the moment in the second game where Dom tells him to search for his wife.
True. I guess you can compare that, but personally I associated it more because they talk about the mother, okay, Kate's mother. Therefore, I associated it with Marcus's dad. It's a more apt comparison, I think.
Yes.
So that's what I thought. So again, to be fair, Marcus, yeah, JD's got you there, actually. Yeah, you didn't wait for backup at all. So, yeah. You know how it is, Shiroi, emotions and shit. So tune in next time.
See you for the next part.
See ya.
See ya.